What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. We're here once again with some more Pokemon Go action. Today, I have some Summer Cup battles that I did earlier today on stream, where I used Shadow Gyarados. I didn't really have a plan going into today, because I didn't actually realize it was a league rotation. So I was asking chat for some teams. I ended up getting this awesome team from Mikey Morgs with Shadow Gyarados, Shadow Quagsire, and Skeleturge. The team was absolutely crazy today. I didn't have high hopes for it, but man, it really did perform. Let's take a look at the battles. So here, getting into game number 1, we have our Shadow Gyarados lead into a Jellicent. This is generally a pretty good lead, and we do see it's running Hex. The Jellicent can run Bubble, it could run Hex. Either way, Gyarados does have a ton of fast move pressure here, and we're able to actually no-shield a potential Shadow Ball. It's a Surf. We call the bait, and we see that the Charger Bug safe swaps into us. Charger Bug is a very common Pokemon in the Summer Cup meta. It's one of the best answers to Shadow Gyarados as well, so pairing Shadow Gyarados with Skeleturge makes a lot of sense there. Another good thing about this is a lot of people like to safe swap their Charger Bug, I've found. So having this hard answer to it really just kind of helps shut down what the Charger Bug's going to be able to do, and to keep an advantage in our favor. You can see our Skeleturge easily able to keep switch, and we're going to be able to get to a Shadow Ball against this Jellicent. If they no shield, they're basically going to get one shot. If they end up shielding this, then they're going to get on shields, and we still have energy on our own Gyarados. So they're in a bit of a tricky spot, except they do farm us down so much there. I'm going to come in with Gyarados, CMP the Crunch on a potential charge move here. They do throw at the same time as me. I know I survive a Surf. A Shadow Ball probably would knock me out from this range. Well, it definitely would, right? But we no shield, we're expecting a Surf, because a Shadow Ball would be a lot of energy to expend on us, and we call the bait properly, and in the back, it is a Shadow Typhlosion. My team is generally pretty strong against Fire types. I have 2 Water types and my own Fire type. So, Fire types on the opposing side are not too scary. We just farm up a bit of extra energy here with our Quagsire, get to the Aqua Tail, and this should be enough to knock out the Typhlosion. We just need to get to a Stone Edge now, and we can knock out this Jellicent as well. Looks like your opponent top lefted, and that was a great game number 1 here with our Shadow Gyarados. Game number 2, Shadow Gyarados into Oranguru. I've been seeing a lot of these confusion users, like the normal Psychic types. Girafarig and Oranguru both seem to be picking up in popularity quite a bit. They do a lot of damage to Pokemon like Shadow Gyarados that don't necessarily have a lot of bulk, but we're able to get to moves first. We have a lot of fast move pressure of our own, so we're just going to kind of try to whittle down this monkey as much as we can here. A Foul Play comes through. It's not going to do that much damage, but obviously we're so low at this point that it would have knocked us out. Crunch would knock them out if they happen to no-shield it. I go for Crunch here because it could get a defense drop, which it actually does. They do 2-shield through our Gyarados, and our Skeleturge is going to absorb this Foul Play. I have a lot of faith right now that Shield Advantage Quagsire can put in a lot of play into the backline. You can see what comes in here in just a second. It is a Trevenant. It's amazing to see the Trevenant right now, because it seems like if they have a Grass type here, hopefully our Quagsire is safe in the back. If there's another Grass type, we're in a bit of trouble. But there is, and it's the Ferrothorn. This thing has no fast move pressure into Skeleturge, so Skeleturge could have got to a Shadow Ball and incinerated down the Ferro before they could Bullet Seed us down. Next game here, Shadow Gyarados into Shadow Cradily. My team actually is a little bit soft to this thing, right? We're weak to Grass with Quagsire, we're weak to Rock with both our Gyarados and our Skeleturge. So seeing Rock types in general are a bit scary, and a Rock type that has play into Quagsire is even scarier. They end up swapping here instead of staying in that lead matchup because they see that I'm staying, and they probably expect their Cradily is pretty useful in the back. They safe swap to their Jellicent, hopefully, or they were probably hoping to try to catch an Aqua Tail, but we saw what came in, and we're just going to go for double Crunch here, catch on our Quagsire, because I want to save my Gyarados for later. Gyarados is very safe in this cup. Basically, the only thing it doesn't want to see, as I said, is Charger Bug, so keeping it alive is going to be very useful, I think. And Quagsire here is able to build up a ton of energy. I actually think I shield this, right? Yeah, because we have so much energy, we can start spamming off moves with our Quagsire. If they choose to shield this, then they're going to be able to potentially Bullet Seed us down unless we can get to a Stone Edge here, or an Aqua Tail, rather, I guess. This Aqua Tail is going to come through. It's going to do enough damage to put them into farm down range pretty easily here. They Bullet Seed us down, but as long as our Gyarados can one-turn Dragon Breath them down before they get a move off, we're in a good spot, and a Toxapex comes in. Now that my Quagsire is gone, Toxapex is a little bit scary. It can absorb a lot of damage here, and it is a Water type. I have a Fire type in the back. But the best thing about this is Skeleturge actually isn't that weak to Toxapex, right? Toxapex, it is a Water type, but it's also a Poison type, so the fast move pressure that it has is not going to do that much to me. I can get to a Shadow Ball here. It's basically going to knock out, and Skeleturge should be able to close this one out. And boom, it does. The Shadow Ball probably just barely knocked out there. I was actually kind of unsure if it would or not. Shadow Gyarados into Turtonator, actually. I saw a couple of these today. I was kind of surprised. A different kind of fire type, a fire type that's a little bit better against the water types. But the Turtonator is a very good matchup for our Gyarados, so I want to keep my Gyarados alive for that later on. Cradily, again, a bit of an awkward Pokemon to see with this team. We have our Skeledirge that can resist the Bullet Seed fast move damage, but we're going to have to shield here once if we want to maintain switch advantage. And I think that's going to be pretty important because Gyarados into Turtonator, that's just such a great matchup. I do want to preserve that. We can come out of this with a ton of energy as well to throw back into that Turtonator, probably get a shield back. And it's actually a Jellicent that comes in here. Jellicent is a little bit scary to see up energy. They're going to get a big farm down, which is going to be a little scary. Maybe I should have baited that first move. It's a pretty likely shield by them, right? Because if I land that Shadow Ball, it basically knocks them out. But I get that Disarming Voice off. It's going to do a sizable amount of damage. And now I'm just going to try to sponge energy here with my Quagsire. I know that Quagsire can survive a move from this Jellicent, and I know that my Gyarados is my win condition in the back. Shadow Ball, it does a ton of damage, and as we were seeing here, they're running Bubble, so they have even more fast move pressure into me than they could otherwise have if they were running Hex. We go for the Aqua Tail bait. If we can get this bait off, which we can then get to a Stone Edge after one Mud Shot. This will be more than enough to knock out this Jellicent, and we should be able to close this game out now with our Gyarados. Gyarados comes in, and Turtonator is gonna top left. Let's go. Shadow Gyarados picking up leads, just sweeping through games. Speaking of leads, this is where I want to see it. Poliwrath is such a hard answer into my Quagsire. It's a little bit of a scary Pokemon to see there, so I want to keep my Quagsire off of it, which is why I opt to bring it in here. Mantine is another tricky Pokemon for my whole team to see here. I don't have a hard answer to it. Gyarados does alright. Quagsire has Stone Edge. I'm just going to use my Quagsire basically as a way to try to strip shields. I get the Stone Edge, and they actually let it go. I was kind of surprised to see this, but I can now get the Aqua Tail off into this. And are they going to shield, or are they going to try to get switch advantage? They actually do. I'm unsure if that shield is all that worth it for our opponent there. Mantine's basically knocked out, and I'm not even that weak to Poliwrath. I have my Skeledirge in the back that can do just fine into it. I'm going to choose to come in with my Gyarados here to get that one-turn Dragon Breath knockout, and the Poliwrath actually comes back into my Gyarados, which is very surprising in my opinion. They swapped out of the lead, but they choose to keep this lead alignment. Aqua Tail obviously is resisted. It's the Dragon Breath damage from Gyarados that's going to be doing a lot. And since I'm seeing that they came back in here, right, I'm kind of thinking they're weak to Shadow Gyarados in the back. And they are. It's a Quagsire. Quagsire is very scary to see in the back. My Skeledirge wants no part of this matchup, but the best thing about it is my Gyarados is going to need to take a Stone Edge, likely to get knocked out. I see they're building up a ton of energy, and I think the one play that I can have here is to just sack my Skeledirge. Take a ton of damage on my Skeledirge, make them dump a lot of energy here, so that my Gyarados can just continue to Dragon Breath down, get to the Aqua Tails, and sweep the endgame. One Aqua Tail is not enough to one-shot a Skeledirge. They would have had to have thrown a Stone Edge there to be able to farm me down. And the fact that they threw Aqua Tail means they have to throw another one. They're not going to be at double Aqua Tails here, and we can just Dragon Breath through this Quagsire, we can Dragon Breath through the Poliwrath, and Gyarados once again should be able to close out this game. Poliwrath comes back in, and it's not enough. It's just going to be Dragon Breath down. They know that. They top left. And let's go. Another win here. That's a 5-0 in the first set here on this video. We actually had some battles before this. We went 10-0 here to close off the day, but overall, I believe we went 16 wins and 4 losses. So a ton of wins with this team. Another one of these confusion users, the Shadow Girafarig into Shadow Gyarados. You can see I'm doing a ton of damage, they're doing a ton of damage, and they're just going to throw immediately because Psychic Fangs is 1, 2, 3 Psychic Fangs when you're using Confusion, a very spammy move. And I can throw my Aqua Tail here on good timing, make sure I get as much Dragon Breath damage as I can into this Giraffe. Aqua Tail's very likely shielded. It is. They want to get alignment if they can. And I know now my Skeledirge should be able to absorb whatever it throws here. And I'm hoping right now that my Quagsire should be good in the back once this fast move pressure Pokemon is out of the way. We see a Toxapex. This is a little bit awkward. We have our Skeledirge locked in with a defense drop, which means this thing could technically maybe fast move me down. And so when I see that they throw energy here, I'm fine with this. I don't want them to, shield my move and to farm me down after, because Quagsire, even though it does resist Poison Jab, and Brine's not a great move, you still don't want to take that much chip damage on Quag. Here, I'm going to actually opt to overfarm a little bit. I know that Quagsire is going to be kind of useful in the back if they come in with Toxapex into Skeledirge, so I'm going to just try to get as much energy as I can, hopefully get a shield from this thing with this Aqua Tail, and I actually don't. And I don't think I can get the farm down either. I have to throw the Aqua Tail at the last second. They catch the move on the Vigoroth, which I probably would have thrown this move anyway, but a great catch by them. They still have a Toxapex in the back with a Brine loaded, and we need to just start whittling down their whole team here with our Quagsire. They have a 1 HP Giraffe. They have a 1 HP Toxapex. We can survive this Body Slam and will live on 1 HP. I'm seeing a win condition here where I just use my Gyarados to Dragon Breath down all 3 of my opponent's Pokemon. They're all going to be incredibly low, after this. And yeah, I just have to hope that the Toxapex can't get their move off. They can't. I get the Dragon Breath down. That's 2. Giraffe comes back in. That's 3 KOs all in a row with Dragon Breath with Gyarados. Next lead, this is a fantastic matchup. I don't want to see this with my Skeleturge or my Quagsire, and while Pelipper can do a lot of fast move pressure with Wing Attack, it's not going to be able to do much with its charge moves. They have Weather Ball as a cheap move, and they do have Hurricane, which, I mean, they could throw that, but I don't expect them to, because it's just better to go straight Weather Ball here. It still does a decent amount of damage, but it's a pretty easy call to make. I can just no-shield the Weather Ball. I believe I end up shielding this one, because honestly, Pelipper is a little bit awkward for my backline to deal with anyway, and they safe swap the Charge Bug. They try to snipe down my Gyarados, but I react in time. I can get my Skeleturge into this Charge Bug, and we can start farming up to 100 energy. This Discharge is going to do a lot. It's not going to do as much as if they would have had a Crunch Charge Attack. I've seen some Crunch Charge Bugs here, especially on the safe swap. I think Crunch does make a little bit of sense, but it's not a Crunch Charge Bug, and they actually come in with a Diggersby. Diggersby is a Pokemon that, and in theory, I have a lot of play into with my backline, right? I have 2 water types, but Quagsire has no fast move pressure, and they're going to have so much energy coming out of this. They're forced to throw a move here before I can get to my next Disarming Voice, and we can see it's Fire Punch, so we don't have to worry about Hyper Beam. It's going to be running Scorching Sands, Fire Punch. We get the CMP here with this Aqua Tail, and right now we just need our Quagsire to be able to spam out as many Aqua Tails as we can against this Diggersby to try to strip shields, and then also against the Pelipper. Pelipper is still alive. My Gyarados is kind of low, so I think I'm in Wing Attack downrange. They come back in with their Pelipper, and I'm a little bit worried now. Maybe I shouldn't have swapped out, because if I would have stayed in an Aqua Tailed first, I might not have given them this big farm down before I could get a move on my Gyarados. Now they have a lot of energy here, but I can get the CMP on this Aqua Tail. They're at double Weather Ball right now, so I'm not going to have to worry about this Pelipper getting the second move off. We have our move, we're going to throw it now, and now we just need to reach the Aqua Tail in 4 Mud Shots before the Diggersby can reach theirs, and we can see here, we get it right on CMP, we get the Aqua Tail right when the Diggersby gets the Scorching Sands. A very close endgame, very well played by our opponent, but Quagsire able to close out that match. Another showcase of why Shadow Gyarados is so good, right? So much fast move pressure. And again, they have no fast move pressure into me with this matchup, and we are going to have our Skeleturge catch this Body Slam. It's pretty obvious when a Vigoroth swaps in, they're going to want to throw their move before we get to ours, so they're always going to throw out after 5 counters there. I know that, so I make the call, I make the catch right then, and I know that I can survive a Rock Slide here, so I end up no-shielding this. And it turns out this is actually a Body Slam bait as well, so I have a ton of health on my Skeleturge, and I have a ton of energy on it as well. If they shield this, I have back-to-back Disarming Voice. If they don't shield it, I still have a Shadow Ball loaded for whatever comes back in. And it's actually the Shadow Quagsire that comes back in. It doesn't want to take one of these moves. So even if they no-shield it, I'm going to have a lot of play. They end up shielding it, and they're going to have to throw a move here before I get my Shadow Ball off. We have a shield advantage, we have energy advantage on our Gyarados, and we just need to see what the third Pokemon is to know if we're going to be in a good spot or not. We can throw the Aqua Tail right before, or we actually let them throw the move first, just in case, we need our energy on Gyarados against the backline. I think it's a good idea to keep energy here. And they come in with Shadow Abomasnow. This is actually a little bit scary to see. We have a ton of energy on Gyarados, though. That's kind of why I was saving it up. I knew that if I needed it against a Grass type in the back, Gyarados is going to be much more useful to have these energy here. Crunch is going to come through. It's basically going to knock it out. I actually choose to come in with Shadow Quagsire here. This is because I want them to be forced to throw Energy Ball rather than Weather Ball, so they're forced to throw a ton of energy in one move, and we get the Mud Shot down. There's still that Quagsire in the back. They know it's over. They need to get to 2 Aqua Tails plus a little bit of fast move pressure, and they're not going to be able to do that and get to a Stone Edge against my Gyarados. We have a Pidgeot lead into Shadow Gyarados now. Always a bit of an annoying matchup, right? Pidgeot is very bait dependent. It can have Aerial Ace, but they can also have Feather Dance and Brave Bird, so we have to make the right calls here if we want to make it through this matchup unscathed. They end up shielding my first move, it makes sense, and this is the coin flip. What are they going to do? They Feather Dance me. I call it correctly, and now that I've called that move, I feel like swapping out of that matchup is probably going to be the play. I don't want to stay in with a debuff on my Gyarados. It could be useful in the back. I've seen some people run Vigoroth, maybe Charge-a-Bug as well, so I know that my Skeleturge could be useful in the back now that this Pidgeot is lowered. They're going to throw another move here, another Feather Dance. Unfortunately, we do shield this one up. I figured that they had almost no reason to Feather Dance me there, but they end up doing it anyway just to take my shield without needing to lower their defense. And we have yet another Aqua Tail. It's a tough call. Do you shield this? Do you not shield this? I choose to take shield advantage rather than switch advantage. I know I can farm this down, and I know my Gyarados and Skeleturge can make a lot of stuff happen with shield advantage. So we just have to see what the backline is to see if we're going to have play. It's actually a Vigoroth that comes in, so no Charge Bug just yet. We bank an Aqua Tail, and there's a Turtonator. Turtonator, a very interesting pick. I've seen a couple of these today. They take almost no fast move pressure. I know I need 2 charge moves to knock this thing out, so I just want to see how much Disarming Voice does first before throwing the Shadow Ball. I'll be able to overfarm a little bit here, force the Vigoroth to throw a Rock Slide into my Skeleturge, and now I just need to hope that I can reach the crunch with my Gyarados against that Vigoroth before they're able to reach a Body Slam. Vigoroth's going to come back in. All these Incinerates that I'm going to be able to get off will do a decent amount of damage. It's going to put it low enough to where I think I can get Dragon Breath plus Crunch and knock them out before they get the Body Slam. It's going to be very close. Crunch comes through. They're only 3 counters away from their next Body Slam. Can I get the Dragon Breath down? It's looking good, right? We get the defense drop, we get the Dragon Breath down, and Gyarados yet again takes the win. This is a fantastic lead. One thing about this matchup, you don't have to throw a charge move as the Gyarados. You just tap. You can tap it all the way down. You come out of this with a move, and you are in such a good spot after that. You can see who comes in. It's actually a Toxapex. Toxapex, a bit of a tricky Pokemon to see if we let it get a big advantage here. So I choose to swap to my own Quagsire. And they have a Vigoroth in the back. And at this point, I know my Skeleturge is in a very good spot to close out this game. Again, there's a Water type against my Skeleturge with that Toxapex in the back. But Toxapex is not really the best Water type when it comes to countering Skeleturge, because I do resist those Poison Jabs. I know at this point, just save shields for my Skeleturge. Hopefully I can get a shield advantage here. I mean, they kind of have to shield, right? If I Stone Edge this, then how's their Toxapex ever going to sweep this endgame? They know that, and they are going to have to throw energy immediately, or else I'd be able to get off yet another Aqua Tail. Quagsire is just so spammy. It's kind of just a menace when you safe swap it and it's up energy like that. And I also know here, they're not anywhere near enough energy to where they could get a Rock Slide plus a Body Slam bait. So as long as I shield a move, there's no way they ever Rock Slide me. And they do actually go straight for it. And I just have to start chipping down this Toxapex with my Skeleturge. Shadow Ball, it's not going to do a ton of damage, but if I can ever land one, it's going to put it into Disarming Voice range. And Brine does about 50% here. So even though they likely will get to another Brine against my Skeleturge, it's not going to knock me out. And I'm in a pretty comfortable spot. These Incinerates even, I know Toxapex is a very bulky Pokemon, but these Incinerates are chunking quite quickly here. It's almost in range where I could Incinerate it down. And we just get the Disarming Voice before they even get the Brine. Not that it would have knocked me out, but it's best just to keep as much health as possible here. Vigoroth comes back in, Incinerate is going to knock them out. And that's the 10-0, all in a row here with our Shadow Gyarados. It was an absolutely insane run. Big shout out once again to Mr. Mikey Morgs, a fantastic Australian battler who actually gave me this team to use. It was honestly way more useful than I thought it would be using the Shadow Gyarados. I didn't really know what to think of it when I first started. I haven't played too much of the Summer Cup, but honestly, Shadow Gyarados, it put in so much work for me, and it was a lot of fun to use. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I stream Pokemon Go PvP almost every day on twitch.tv/itsaxon, so if you want to see content like this live, make sure to check me out there. Alright, thanks again, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.